You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello everyone, welcome to Myopia from Your Childhood. This week, man, we have a good one, and a weird one, and an unusual one. When you guys picked Hunting Humans for Sport, I didn't expect to have, such a dearth of good decisions. Of course, Hard Target last week was great, but this one, which is I guess harder to find, at least according to my own difficult chance to find it, is... Well, I mean, I loved it. You'll hear the episode to see who didn't and why they suck. But this is Gary Busey. This is Rutger Hauer. This is, the lead is a problem, but we can get to it there. But, man, I love this genre. Thanks for choosing it. I guess check one in my column, because that was my category for the month when you guys voted on it. But, I guess you voted for it in August. But, anyway, just a quick update. Next month, we're doing some Halloween heavy hitters. And I think we all agree that Halloween itself would be too strong. The original Mike Myers, or I guess The Shape movie, was too good. But we have some less good ones. Not bad, just a tear down. To talk about. We get the Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. But you guys are going to get to pick the third one. We're looking at franchises, and on October 1st, so a week from Tuesday, we're going to have up a poll. So like 5 days from now, you're going to have a poll up, and you're going to get to pick whatever the third movie on this weird 5 Thursday month is going to be, and then we'll have a breakdown of which one's the best at the end, so look forward to that. Also, if you're not following us on Facebook or Twitter, you should, because right now we're running a massive bracket of the best action stars throughout history. If you're listening to this and only hearing about it now, or only intrigued now, we started out with 4 categories, because that's the maximum Twitter allows. 4 people per category, which is the most Twitter allows. And 20 categories. So we had 80 action stars of different categories that we made up, and we eliminated half. The top 2 moved on to a bracket, and then we resurrected, pulled some out, and now we have 48 that are going to battle to be crowned the top action star. Check out the Facebook and Twitter to follow our daily polls. I'm going to put up 2 a day until we get near the end, and enjoy. That's Myopia Podcast pretty much everywhere. If you don't see my beautiful face or hear my voice when you click on the podcast, you're at the wrong place. We're also on Letterboxd for those of you who are more movie inclined, so you can see me. Daniel and Matt are there as well. And I believe Jeremy is starting to get on it. So, thanks guys, and appreciate all of the support you've been giving us.
Welcome to Myopia Defend Your Childhood. This week we're watching Surviving the Game, which rounds out our Hunting Humans for Sport month. And my wife, who watched half of this with me, goes, "Oh, they made a movie out of The Deadliest Game." Huh.
Yeah. Well, they did one back in the 30s on the King Kong set for a really low budget, and hey.
Actually, I'm curious what this budget was. Anyway, this is an Ernest R. Dickerson's movie starring every B actor you wish was in a movie where you hunted humans for sport, and yet this is just kind of a of a movie. I guess before we get into this, I'm on panel with Daniel tonight.
Hi, good evening, everyone. The reason Matt's not here is because, I took that guy up on the offer to...
hunt him for sport.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still feel that guy paid too much, man, at the end of the day.
Well, he just didn't fight back. That's the problem. You want someone who's a little bit scrappy. A little scrappy. Now, Zach would be a real hunt for sport. I just imagine him lumbering through the woods like the Yeti, just arms to his side, just like setting up traps. I don't think I could take Zach down.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
He's our Gary Busey. If if I keep sniffing, I won't have any gums left. Yeah. I don't have a good Gary Busey. I never said.
No.
I'll never say that. Daniel, why don't you just give us our plot synopsis?
I mean, we did Hard Target 2 weeks ago, I guess, and this is pretty much the same plot with a bit of a twist. It opens with Ice-T back when everyone thought he'd actually be an actor after New Jack City. They were wrong.
They were wrong.
As a homeless man who is found by Charles S. Dutton, I do not remember these character names at all, and given this business card to go and find a steady job. The steady job is nominally supposed to be him being a tracker for a bunch of wealthy people to go up into the woods in Oregon, I guess, and hunt.
Yeah.
But he doesn't realize at first that he's the one that they're really hunting, so now he's got to fight to kill the hunters before they kill him.
That's it in a nutshell. It's the same plot as all these hunting humans for sport games. I think I found a flaw in our plot to do an entire month on this, but before we get to it, it's very clear that John Woo directed one and Dickerson directed another, because God bless it, they put all the movie here, at least into the actors, and 2 or 3 really good explosions.
Well, the first act reminded me a lot of Rest in Peace, Sir John Singleton, especially the stuff he was putting out in the 90s, where it's this really gritty urban drama. And frankly, I like that a lot more than the hunting for sport plot.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, first of all, we can talk about this. The way to fix this movie is switch the roles around a little bit. I love that. I mean, like you mentioned, the cast is pretty damn good. The main guy is Rutger Hauer. Charles S. Dutton plays I guess he's a church guy who's rounding up.
Kind of the Arnold Vosloo character.
He's the recruiter.
Yeah.
But, like, there's a guy named Doc Hawkins, played by Gary Busey. F. Murray Abraham brings his son, William McNamara. And John C. McGinley is suffering from PTSD. It's a pretty damn good cast. Obviously, JCVD, you've got some star power there. There's not really star power here other than New Jack City, of course. But
Well, Ice-T gets top billing over
Absolutely.
everyone else.
I think second is Charles S. Dutton in the closing credits, of all things.
Yeah. Well, in the original title, it's Ice-T and Rutger Hauer. Again, rest in peace.
I love Rutger Hauer in this, but again, there's just nothing for these guys to do.
Now, when I first saw him, I saw him in the credits, and then when they go into his office and he introduces himself, my notes literally say, "Who is this knockoff Dennis Hopper?"
I thought it was Dennis Hopper too, and then I had to look. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer with a terrible goatee.
I thought it was Dennis Hopper. Then I thought it was whoever played Senator Kelly in the first X-Man movie.
the guy who gets turned into the blob.
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, that. And then I realized, oh no, wait, that's Rutger Hauer.
I did the exact same thing. I swore up and down it was Dennis Hopper, and I figured, oh, it's just a cameo role.
Yeah.
He's not going to show back up. Oh no. Oh no. But with that in mind, I guess my thought was, I know how to fix this movie, which is instead of hunting Ice-T, hunt Gary Busey.
Sir, why are you naked and covered in mud? We're not even hunting you.
I just felt like this is more natural. I'm gonna set up some traps
This
for you
is
guys.
how I felt in heaven.
But I mean, I don't have an answer for you, but I think at least he feels scrappier. Ice-T is struggling through this movie.
It makes no sense. Like, his character, him being part of this makes no sense. He's hired as a tracker. We never get any sort of background that he has any wilderness experience. I mean, even in Hard Target, they were mentioning, oh, these guys are Army vets, so they have combat training. So it makes sense.
And I appreciate all the scenes where they're doing the physical hunting for sport and that kind of thing. Well, it's supposed to feel more like he's on the back foot constantly, more like a thriller than Hard Target, which is clearly an action movie, because JCVD is always in charge of every scene, right?
Yeah.
But at least JCVD, which is almost the exact same minute count, feels like it tells an actual story. This doesn't no one has backstory. No one really, other than one incredible scene when they're in a cabin, and Gary Busey has a monologue.
Oh, does he ever?
Oh my goodness.
Is that right after the scene where they're giving Ice-T a glass of wine, and then they're like, oh, it's $4.50 a bottle. It's like $4.50. I better switch to that wine or something.
Well, it's also right after John C. McGinley is eye-humping him like he's looking at the sexiest steak he's ever seen, which is an entire half hour of this movie. This weird, like, chamber scene where they're just...
I knew not to trust the Bobs.
So we start off with a dual shot of Ice-T being homeless on the street
Yep.
with his dog, and smash cut a guy with, I don't know, Stephen Wright's haircut. He looks like Bozo the Clown come to life.
Yeah.
Running through this foggy world, whatever, and being torn apart, like shot to death, like RoboCop style.
But we never get introduced to who that guy is. Like, even in Hard Target. I'm going to compare this movie to Hard Target pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
Well, plus because that's like the template to make this sort of movie work.
Right.
Really. And it's like what that did right, this movie does wrong. And in this case, we never find out who that guy is that they're...
Well, and it doesn't matter. That's the other problem. There doesn't seem to be, like, there's not a cop that's 5 steps behind. There's no one looking for any of these people. There's nothing. It's just, well, I guess some rich people are hunting people for sport. I guess that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And we don't even get the game, because, like, in Hard Target, we have Vosloo and, I almost said Rutger Hauer again.
I think they do get the game, but it's so vague. It's, if you make it to civilization, you live. If you don't, you don't.
Well, but like Lance Hendrickson is finding new rich people each time to pay for it. So there's something in it for him, right? There's a game here where, and then eventually it becomes, you know, like he gets high on his own supply. Like he's like, well, now I have to kill him because he's ruined my business. Here it just seems like something they do every few months. They all get together. It's always the same guys.
And so why are they paying to get involved? Well, I can understand if they're like paying to split the cabin or something, but I mean...
It's 50 grand. They're talking about 50 grand.
F. Murray Abrams like, I spent 50 grand on you, son, so you could learn how to be a man.
I guess that was the pig they slaughtered halfway through?
I don't know. That was a big pig.
It was a big pig.
Well, we're introduced to Ice-T. He's homeless on the streets, and pretty quickly after that, he's got a dog with him that gets run over by a taxi.
Right.
So we're introduced to him trying to beat up a taxi driver for running over his dog, which, you know what, fair play to him.
You start the movie with a pretty graphic scene of a dead dog. Like, the taxi cab is dented, it's covered in blood, the dog is beat up to hell, this dog puppet. And that's kind of the most graphic it gets until Charles S. Dutton gets it, and oh, does Charles S. Dutton get it.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yikes.
But here's the thing. If there was more than that, that makes it a thriller movie, right? Hard Target is not a horror movie, it's an action movie. So you don't expect a lot of grim death, you just expect a lot of good death, right?
Spectacle death.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, a lot of explosions, a lot of dudes getting picked off at far distances with weird weapons, right? This, it has a couple good deaths, but that's where the budget should go. Like, get someone other than William McNamara who no one would have cared about.
You know, I don't even think, when you say good deaths, I know what you mean, and I don't even think that these were really good deaths, quote unquote, because there was just no emotional impact behind them, or there was nothing really behind it.
Well, there was no build-up.
Yeah.
Something that we did Skyfall a million years ago, but something that they do well in that movie, which is essentially the action horror version of Home Alone, is they show them setting the traps. I kept waiting for Ice-T to set up a fucking trap.
Yep.
He never does. And it's something that JCVD does and Uncle Duvet does. Uncle Duvet has been waiting for the day the revenue will show up since he first started pouring moonshine.
Do you think that was Duvet's moonshine that Ice-T used? Oh, there's a scene like right after the hunt begins where Ice-T stumbles in that shack and there's like heads of all their past victims. So he burns it down. Do you think he was using Uncle Duvet's moonshine?
Well, I mean, that's the best we got. I mean, I also, you could tell me that was just really Wilford Brimley's shack in the last one.
Also, kind of the entire time, I was like going, okay, where's Richard Nixon's head, and when is it going to run for president?
Speaking of time you should have spent building up this movie character, walking after burying his dog with his friend military guy whose name I didn't even bother to write down.
Oh, when they go and try and rob the grocery store or the meat or the
butcher shop.
The butcher shop, yeah.
Well, yeah, he finds a gun in a trash can, which is never explained. He jumps a fence to steal an entire half a cow or whatever, and he gets caught by a rent-a-cop. He threatens him with the gun. It's just a thing, man.
Well, it kind of reminded me of the scene in Hard Target where JCVD goes to beat up those people who are threatening the main female character.
Yeah. Character I can't be bothered. Yeah.
Yancey Butler.
Yeah, exactly.
Nat, I believe is what her name was. Because Daddy named her after... Yes. It reminded me of that scene, but it didn't turn Ice-T into a hero because nothing he does there is particularly heroic.
Other than there's a smash cut where he's cooking that meat up for all the other homeless Joes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's what it's supposed to be, but it never pays off. I mean, The next scene, we're introduced to Charles S. Dutton handing out food to the homeless people, and Ice-T just walks by because he just doesn't care. He says, man, nothing is free in this life, or whatever he says. Charles S. Dutton chases him down, which apparently is all he needs to figure out whatever.
Because that's how that works. If you see Charles S. Dutton, he is there to give you money.
He's there to give you money, right. Whoa.
I like Charles S. Dutton as an actor, actually. Not necessarily in this, but just in general.
But again, no one in this movie is bad. They're just given fuck all to do. This movie is the biggest waste of talent, which, again, I would say you cut out half these guys. I mean, keep Charles S. Dutton if you want to, but you got to get rid of someone. Get a big name actor. You need to be either hunting or a bigger name needs to be the head of the hunt.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's just no one matters here.
Well, plus they try and turn it into a piece of suspense that Ice-T is going to be hunted, which is so painfully obvious.
Yeah, we know.
Like 10 minutes in. The actual hunt doesn't begin until about 40 minutes into the movie. And this is like a 95-minute movie.
I'm just trying to think, like, what are you going to do with these? Whatever. I was like, Charles S. Dutton is even in the, well, I mean, you like it, but he's in the third Aliens movie. I was like, I wonder if he knew John C. McGinley. And I'm like, no, I'm confusing memories with the second one. Because John C. doesn't make it out of that either. We should get to John C. McGinley. Anyway.
I barely remember him in this movie.
Oh, are you kidding? They have that whole chamber scene when they're in the cave overnight, when they, in the mine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So,
doesn't Ice-T shoot him in the head?
No, he does not. Rutger Hauer shoots him in the head.
That's right, yes.
No, F. Murray Abraham does. This cast is stupid good. Anyway, so Dutton chases him down. They go up to Rutger Hauer's office the next day. Rutger Hauer is clipping his nails like an asshole.
Yep. Oh, and what is Ice-T's test to see whether or not he can fulfill the job? He runs on a treadmill for 30 minutes.
He asks for a cigarette, and he goes, "You're not going to get the job because you're clearly a smoker, and as a smoker, you're not going to be able to have the endurance we need for ?
Now, as a doughy white guy, I do have to say, running on a treadmill can be very hard. So power to you, Ice-T, but that doesn't mean you're a survivalist.
Well, and the whole plot of this movie is you want a good person to hunt. What you look for is the cokehead, give him a pile of blow. Again, Gary Busey should not be the doctor for the CIA. He should be the guy they're hunting for sport. Then he should be biting out throats. By the way, you remake this movie and the guy that they capture is a secret werewolf, better movie. Middle of the night, he turns into a werewolf and starts gutting people.
So it's pretty much Predator. Okay, yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, but it's a person. Or he's possessed with the, like, alien symbiote from X-Files. No, the evil, the alien oil, not the symbiote. Yeah. Sorry, Todd Phillips. We were talking about Todd Phillips earlier, and shitty movies all came to my head. Are you going to see Joker?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I do want to see it. I hope it's good, but we'll see.
Yeah, I might twist your arm and take you to see Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Although, I will say, okay, after this, Charles S. Dutton gets the job, or gives him the job, rather. Like, they run back into each other.
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer with his incredible goatee. He looks like he's about to play bass for a band.
He's got a Fu Manchu mustache,
it's something.
practically.
Although, I will say, speaking of Fu Manchu, one of those heads in the jar looks like a reject from, like, the old Manchurian candidate, the Mandarin, the old Iron Man villain.
The Mandarin?
Mandarin, the big wispy, long down all the way out mustache. It's something. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, anyway, so they have a big feast. We've already kind of talked about this. They go into this remote cabin.
Yeah.
They slaughter.
What are we
going to
eat? A pachyderm. He takes out that machete and Gary Busey's like, what are we going to eat? A pachyderm.
I only eat things that I could slaughter to while listening to the Doors, like the end of Apocalypse Now.
Oh my God. And then we have, after they eat this boar, pig head first, right? John C. McGinley goes, this is damn good boar. And Charles Listen's like, thank you very much. I picked it myself. He goes, so you think you can tell a good meat just by looking at it? And he goes, yeah, I do. And then he makes direct eye contact with Ice-T. He goes, so you think just looking at a piece of meat you can tell it's going to be a good hunt? John C. McGinley is practically like jerking off or something. Like, I've never seen. He, as Dr. Cox, had like a little bit of an itch behind his eyeball sometimes. This guy is just flat out crazy.
Yeah, that's a weird thing I never thought I'd say. He makes Dr. Cox look subtle.
He makes his Marine character in Aliens look subtle.
He was in Aliens?
He was in Aliens.
Really?
I'm almost 100% on that. I'll double check. But
I know he was in Seven as a SWAT team member, and I know he was in The Rock as an army guy, but Aliens?
you know what this means, though? It means he's the nicest guy on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
He has to be, because if he's not, no one would work with him anymore. It's like, who's the guy who pulled the knife on Jerry Seinfeld? Who played Elaine?
I know what you're talking about. The guy who was the crime boss in Reservoir Dogs.
And he was the bad guy. He was Sykes in Oliver and Company.
That's
that.
Oh, in Oliver and Company. Yeah, you might be right there. Not Lawrence Bender. Larry Tierney, is that right?
Lawrence Tierney.
Lawrence Tierney.
I guess you're right. He wasn't in Aliens. He was in whatever. It doesn't matter. Now that I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. He was in Platoon. He was in Seven. He was in Point Break.
Oh, wait, so this is a Point Break reunion with him and Gary Busey.
Oh, man. I imagine you run into them on the street, like Gary Busey on the street. He's like, hey, you want to be in my next movie? As his gums recede a little bit further.
I got a kid now who's going to be in your movie.
But again, here's the thing. You could put Gary Busey in a Downey commercial, and I would believe him, because he committed 110% to this crazy performance.
Yeah.
Because they're at the dinner table, and John C. McGinley's like, so what happened to your wife and child? He goes, I killed him, motherfucker. And he freaks out. He's about to tear his skull up, which is weird.
Hi there, little boy. You want to see my teeth?
So you want to know how I got this way? I'm a doctor for the company. I'm a head doctor. You know, one of them shrinks. My dad told me one day I needed to become a man, so he gave me a puppy dog, and I raised that puppy dog up. I mean, this monologue goes on for 3 minutes, but he raised up a dog, and we wanted to be not just a personal family pet, but an attack dog. So I'd throw M80s and cherry bombs to get it used to loud noises. Then he got mad. He got angry. So my dad took him out in the woods with me, gave me the cherry bombs and lit it, and said, now, only one of you is going to make it out, you or the dog. And then, so I took the dog, I wrapped my arms around his neck, and I cracked his neck. And then I took my hand, and I licked the blood off. And then my dad said, today, son, you are a man.
Now, this was Nick's audition tape for Broadway. That was his monologue, officially.
Oh, my God. And he literally licks his hand, and he goes, and that's...
How is he the first one to die?
Well, I mean, so then they hunt. They literally start hunting him for sport.
Well, it starts with... This is actually the one effective scene I like, which is Ice-T is sleeping, and Charles S. Dutton comes in with a huge handgun and, like, starts poking Ice-T, and then he sees and's like, all right, we're going to give you a head start that lasts as long as it takes us to eat a nice leisurely breakfast.
Yeah, and John C. McGinley has, like, he's the guy you don't bring to the strip clubs. He's like, come on, man, let's go. Are we going to go hunt him? Are we going to go hunt him? Like, he's practically scratching himself coked out. It's incredible. And he's like, no, I'm enjoying my coffee. You know, the one thing I miss out here is the sports page. He goes, fuck your sports page. Like, he's, like, tweaking. I mean, and is that to say, they're dealing with a homeless dude. When they give him whatever it is, $100 at the beginning of the movie, he rents this shitty hotel room, Ice-T.
No, it was only like $20 because he stayed on the treadmill.
Right. And he like gets a $2 bottle of Madeira.
Yep.
And a razor. And I'm like, oh, he's just going to kill himself in this hotel room. But he doesn't.
He cuts off some of those magnificent dreads.
He had dreads down to his shoulder blades.
Yeah.
And that's a choice. I don't know whose choice it was, but it was a choice. This smash cut to the second time he's woken up by a bunch of white men poking things in his face.
See, this is a good movie. The scene's parallel.
Yeah, there is.
Steven, it's like poetry. They rhyme.
You know, George, I thought I changed the locks that you couldn't get back in here anymore.
Can I get a sandwich, Steven?
My $4.2 billion is getting lonely, Steven. Now, George, what did I tell you about coming in? You know, that Timothy Zahn is pretty clever. He's a hack. I came up with the universe, Steven. I mean, at this point, it's just a series of weird kills.
Well, they find the trophy room, and he burns that down, and then he burns the that other cabin down that almost kills F. Murray Abraham.
Right, and his son goes in to save him, his son Derek, and at this point...
Now... This is something that I think we haven't mentioned a lot. F. Murray Abraham has like a 19 or 20-year-old son that he brings with him to turn him into a man.
Yeah, his name is Derek. He's played by William McNamara, who apparently started acting with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. One of them's Christian, one of them's dead, and one of them's William McNamara. And at this
Wait,
point,
when did Corey Feldman die?
right? Yeah. Well, his
No.
career's dead.
Yeah, well, apparently his music career's still going strong, but
fuck you. But anyway, the whole thing the entire time is that the kids has a conscience, which you think would matter later.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
because he
He falls off.
falls off that
He dies.
cliffhanger scene.
He dies the way Wile E. Coyote dies.
Yeah.
Like they make a fake bridge out of a giant tree, and he just falls to his death. Like
Yep.
yeah.
Pretty much. Well, that's another weird thing. They try and turn the villains into sympathetic figures, like be it Gary Busey with that story, be it F. Murray Abraham with the son. It doesn't work.
The only time it works is with John C. McGinley. Because John C. McGinley runs off, Ice-T jumps off a cliff, lands on him, knocking him unconscious. He ties him up, and they have a standard villain versus the hero scene, where they're talking at each other. And midway through, John C. McGinley goes, "So what happened?" He goes, "Look, I didn't kill my family. I was a mechanic doing stuff for the super in the building because we couldn't afford to pay. And one night I came home, we lived in a bad part of town, and my family was killed.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, why bother living in a house anymore? I just lived on the street and got drunk because I couldn't handle it." John C. McGinley, who recently lost a child, says, doing this to deal with my pain, essentially, put me out of my misery. And he goes, "Nah, man, you're not worth it. I'm not worth it. It's not worth dying for this." And lets him live. And so John C. McGinley wants to get out of this, and that's when F. Murray Abraham puts a bullet in his brain.
Yep.
And again, a good scene deserved to be in the Twilight Zone 45-minute version of this movie, which should not be a movie.
Yes. And then from then on, it's a bunch of other scenes in the woods. Charles S. Dutton gets his legs blown off after his ATV explodes.
Best scene of the movie. They keep expecting Ice-T to run away. He stands his ground by hiding and setting up traps.
Right.
And this time they go down the river. Everyone's sniffing. Something smells wrong. I guess the kid farted or whatever. So they go back to the ATVs, and what he's done is pulled out the spark plug, put it in the gas tank. And so when he steals one of the ATVs, he runs off. Rutger Hauer blows up the tire of Ice-T's ATV, but Charles S. Dutton, when he hits the ignition, blows the shit out of himself. And we see Charles S. Dutton crawling away without legs and missing half an arm.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a badass scene.
And he's what really sells it is he's still delirious and still talking about, "Did we get him?
Next year we'll bring the girls and blah, blah, blah." He's essentially saying, like, "Hey, George, can I pet the rabbits?" Like, he's going crazy. The problem is the movie keeps forgetting that these people are serial killers, and we shouldn't care.
We've seen their shack that has at least 30 heads in it.
Well, and speaking of aliens, it's a room out of aliens, right? Like, it's a green room. There's green light for some reason, and there's just heads in jars, and one guy has a crazy mustache.
Yes.
Right. I don't know. I mean, one by one, they're getting picked off. Using a high-caliber rifle that John C. McGinley leaves behind, he cuts down a tree. Well, he uses the tree to make a bridge, which he never goes on. It's just a way to get these stupid white guys out on the middle of a ledge so that he can pick them off more easily.
Yep. He does.
He does. He's going to knock Rutger Hauer off by just throwing rocks at him.
He kills F. Murray Abraham's son.
Yeah, he knocks him in the shoulder. He falls to his death. And again, it's the Wile E. Coyote. Oh, no! And he falls.
And by this point, there's only two people left. There's F. Murray Abraham and Rutger Hauer.
F. Murray Abraham has the worst death, which is just kind of they wrestle and he breaks his neck in the dark.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. At this point, he gets away, right? Like, Rutger Hauer says, "Well, I'm done," and he flies home back to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out that the plane that exploded, you've got that right, the plane that exploded didn't kill Ice-T. But Ice-T shows up in Seattle 3 days later, just as Rutger Hauer is trying to escape dressed as an Orthodox priest.
Bless you, my child. Can I have some money? Get lost.
Yeah, fuck off. We then see Rutger Hauer try to escape. His car doesn't start because a scene earlier, we had been told that he was a mechanic, that Ice-T was a mechanic, so he knows how to, I guess, disconnect a starter, whatever.
Yep.
So he walks off on foot. They have a little hand-to-hand combat. Rutger Hauer essentially is left to live, but Ice-T takes out all the bullets except for one. He drops that one bullet, which he's essentially damaged so that it backfires and shoots Rutger Hauer in the face. And movie.
Always check the barrel.
Which is something that we're told early on in the movie because reasons.
See, it's a callback. This is a good movie.
This movie had no script. It's like what I imagine a bad Michael Bay looks like, where it's just a list of the effects of the deaths. Speaking of October, we're going to do Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't know what the third one is. You guys are going to choose. But it seems like a lesser one of those movies. Has someone ever been pulled through a turlet before? Let's pull someone through a turlet. Like that's how the deaths all look in this movie. So, Daniel, we're out of time. Let's just wrap this up, man. Would you recommend it?
Not so long as Hard Target exists, which... Yeah, Hard Target isn't great, but it's something. It's at least entertaining. I mean, the first act was really the best part, where it's about Ice-T's gritty homeless life. Had they made that into a movie, it would have been a lot better, and, Ice-T might not have ended up in movies like Tank Girl.
I'm a fucking kangaroo.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Although his TV career's been fine. Don't worry about Ice-T.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Ice-T.
Don't worry about Ice-T.
But I don't know. I mean, this... Hard Target would be more fun to watch, but I'm sure this is the one that got played on TNT all the time back in the 90s because it was so cheap to air, and you can understand why, because it looks like a made-for-cable movie. It's just like a knockoff of Hard Target, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I got it on Vudu, and it's like a VHS rendering or something. Like, the quality of the transfer is terrible anyway. I will say it this way. You put on Hard Target at the beginning of a party, you put this on at the end of the party. There's nothing offensive about it. It's not that bad of a movie. Someone drops one F-bomb, but it's such a disappointing movie. Because, again, I expected Gary Busey to do something crazy. He's the level-headed psychiatrist. What bad casting that is. You have him in your movie. Have him be freaking crazy. He should, John C. McGinley is John C. McGinley, but I believe him as a stern psychiatrist. Make Gary Busey the crazy one who wants to literally eat him in some scenes. Just do anything. I don't know. This movie's not bad. It's just disappointing, and it does have some cool scenes. So, if you can find a supercut, do that because you're not going to miss anything. It's like watching the Saw movies. All you need to see is the last 20 minutes to see how the traps work. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week, guys. I guess hunting humans for sport was less interesting than we had hoped. But do watch Hard Target. That one's thumbs up for both of us. Next week, don't forget. Oh, by the way, if you've heard some weird noises in the background, there's a thunderstorm here out of nowhere, and we'll edit it the best we can, but sometimes the dog just freaks out and puts his nose right in my face.
He had thoughts about the movie, too.
Yeah, he apparently. So in 2 weeks, we're going to start a 3-episode month on heavy hitters for slasher films. Number 1, we're going to do A Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe. Number 2, we're going to do Friday the 13th. The third one you're going to pick. So check our Twitter feed. As of recording this, we're doing a bracket for action heroes, best action stars, and we've had over 1,600 votes on our bracket pools, and we're starting to get to the elimination round. So please keep doing that. It brings attention to us from people who otherwise wouldn't see us. That's why the polls are good. You guys follow us already on Twitter and Facebook and all that crap. These polls have people who you don't know say, hey, he voted in something or she voted in something. It brings attention, which is great. It helps bring attention to us. And, I mean, the 10,000 of you who followed me on Twitter, thanks, really. So stay tuned next week as we enter a movie podcast favorite month, which is October.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Myopia Defender Childhood is a member of the ESO Network and product of Dude Letter Podcast. It is hosted by Nick Hoffman, edited by Nick Hoffman and Daniel Suttis, and is produced by Ann Burns, Nick Hoffman, Matthew Flynn, and Daniel Suttis. Our theme song is Surf Jimmy by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.